Hi, good morning. My name is Mary Hemsworth and I'm with caterer.com, and today we're delighted to be talking to Joe from Umbrella. Joe, tell me, what is it you do at Umbrella Training?
So my name is Joe Simovic. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Umbrella Training. So my job is to look after the quality and the operations side, and sort of to make sure that the vision of Umbrella that we started off with is being sort of executed all the way through the operations. And Umbrella Training is an apprenticeship provider, mainly in hospitality, that provides meaningful apprenticeships that support organizational culture change, development of people, and sort of support organizations being more efficient than they are when we start working with them on the apprenticeships.
You mentioned culture change there. How do Umbrella Training work with organizations to implement culture change?
Apprenticeships are an amazing vehicle to support any change that the organization wants to embed, whether through training people in what the change is. So, for example, we're changing the way the organization approaches their guests, customers. It's a great way to embed the changes the organization wants to do, whether by training the managers in how to implement the change and how to support the change, or through training the learning mentors that support change on a day-to-day basis and embed it further. It also supports to sort of check in with any changes being made on a day-to-day basis in a more supportive manner than just sort of embedding the change by putting a piece of paper or a different process in a procedure. So it provides a vehicle for people to ask why, and for people to argue, debate, discuss in the training room, which is absolutely amazing. So it provides that safe environment to question change in a way that supports further embedding of the change.
And as a training provider, how have the past 18 months been for you?
It has been really challenging on one side. It has really made us think differently. We had to move 400 apprentices in March 2020 from a full face-to-face delivery into online delivery. That didn't stop us from looking at Ofsted criteria that talks about quality. So we had to sort of very quickly not only move them onto the online platform, but learn how to use it to its full potential, because obviously those apprentices that stayed with us, and it's amazing, 100% of our apprentices stayed online and learned with us rather than stopped, and they were all on furlough. So it was really challenging to learn all of that because we had to learn quick, but it was also very exciting to be doing things that we could do to support so many apprentices in hospitality that didn't have where to go. So grueling on one side, but very, very rewarding. Whilst other people were going out and supporting, NHS and taking people to, taking food to people that were unwell and things like that, we could still do our jobs and see that we were making an impact on people's lives and being there for business partners in hospitality who were also, potentially on furlough or just about to go on furlough, and support how to keep their teams engaged. So, it was an amazing 18 months to learn a lot as an organization.
And what do you think the future for apprenticeships looks like now that the sector has reopened again?
I think apprenticeships are the future. And, I know you would say that, if you're an apprenticeship provider, but, I'm first and foremost management consultant and organizational developer. And if an apprenticeship wasn't the right thing for any of our business partners, we wouldn't be putting that forward as a meaningful solution. The government has put forward various grounds. I'm not going to go into debate whether they're enough or not, but those that are there, there's £3,000 grant to actually employ an apprentice. Plus, you could be using your levy or levy transfers to actually fund your training within the apprenticeships. And if you'd approach apprenticeships as your own, if you design them, if you make them meaningful to your organizational values, vision, as specific yearly objectives as to what I want to achieve as a CEO or a general manager of a business, you can get so much out of them. You can have apprenticeships driving your change, driving your people development, driving your employee well-being and engagement, they're really actually really intrinsically connected to the key people awards pillars that you've come up with, and I think that's why they're so important in the next 3 years for the economic development of our country and certainly hospitality industry.
You mentioned their employee engagement. I was going to, that was, the pillars of what the awards are this year. Instead of the usual 13, we're focusing on 3 very specific areas. So the first one is employee well-being, the second one is skills and development, and the third one is employee engagement. Now, you are again sponsoring for the 3rd time these awards. And tell me, what is the importance of each award for you? So if we started with employee well-being, why is that award so important?
See, employee well-being was something that we only talked about in relation to health and safety until COVID hit. There were probably less than 10% of the organizations that actually, strategically got involved with the concept of employee well-being in its entirety. We still have this is a CIPD data from 2021, we still only have 24% of the companies that were surveyed, and there were about 700 that actually have a formal well-being strategy that actually encompasses, physical well-being, mental well-being, and then, go down to financial well-being. So we went from, an industry that was very focused on, they were starting to get focused on employee engagement and doing really well in that, for example, to an industry that finally focused on those really relevant internal motivators for the person that go beyond whether they are safe in their working environment. So I love the fact that we're focusing now on the fact that things are different, and physical well-being is really important in the terms of people being safe with COVID and everything, and other areas, for example, technology, and the fact that your reservations people might be sitting in front of a screen for the last 12 hours, and that might be biting into their home time. So that work-life balance is also something that has come out as a discussion. What I really like as well is that, in the terms of managing absenteeism and managing how well-being is affecting the organization, we're finally being more strategic and proactive rather than reactive. So we're trying to teach our managers more about, and leaders, as to how to support someone who has issues with well-being, whether that's physical, mental, or any other challenges that they might have in their employee well-being. So this is really important. But the key element is, I think, acknowledging the fact that having mental health challenges is nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to be talked about. It's something that you can share with your line manager, and your line manager is finally trained in how to support you and where to signpost you. This is the huge element of what the I suppose last 18 months has brought to the table, that might have been a catalyst for something that'll stop us being, support us in the future, if that makes sense. Lastly, I think for me, the involvement of senior managers, senior leaders in the business, and them buying into the formal well-being strategy and investing in it, strategically, and understanding that this is something that will stop them from actually having huge levels of absenteeism. So it's a business decision. It's not, it's not a fluffy, let's put another little fluffy, policy into place. It's something that's going to make a difference, to hospitality industry in the future, and it will make us more productive. It will make hospitality industry as well more attractive to people to come in and be safe and secure and sort of know that it's the right place to be.
That's a really valid point about making the sector more engaging and more attractive to people coming in. And some hospitality employers have done great work on employee well-being over the last year, and we do hope that they enter the awards. Now, the one that I'm really interested in is from you guys is the skills and development, because that award is something that's very, very close to your heart.
Yeah. I mean, skills development is one of the key elements that will make a difference to an organization being able to shift from almost mothballing and these, you know, the infernal lockdowns that we had, to being able to sort of shift in the gear and have full occupancy. If we look at, for example, some of the, you know, lucky organizations down in Southwest that have literally gone from zero occupancy to being 100% you know, full over the summer, and that shift doesn't come naturally. It's not something that you can switch on and switch off unless you have really clear skills development and support on so many different levels for the organizations. On the other hand, you know, also being able to, you know, look at some of the bigger towns and look at London, for example, you know, and see how, you know, people are meant to now manage very low occupancy with people that are not necessarily trained in that particular position, people who are meant to be doing cross-functional jobs. These are all challenges that we didn't have necessarily prior to, well, we didn't have 18 months ago. So skills development is something that has to be, you know, at the top of the agenda. But imagine doing all of this with reduced L&D capacity, because, you know, 100%, you know, of L&D professionals have either been on furlough or,
Yes.
you know, have, you know, unfortunately had their budgets cut or might have been made redundant. And we do understand those decisions. You know, this is what happens. This is what happened in 2008. This is what happens today, because, you know, you look at the functions that are the most profitable. However, there is a return on the investment on L&D and on skills development, and any organization that has kept their L&D provision untouched has actually, you know, blossomed post lockdown and was able to really shift gears in a different way. So I think there's some of the key things to think about. You know, we have issues with, for example, those who are staying in the businesses and having, you know, having to do, employees who are having to do different jobs, that are having to sort of train on the job very quickly. They're having to do more than one job. I always remember Sally Beck saying, you know, I expect my finance director to go and support the event in a wedding if that's the case. And you know, she's not the only the general manager that would have said something like that, because that's what we needed, that cross-functional ability. So that's something that needed to be trained and is being trained. Then we have the whole new entrants to the labor market. They look different than 18 months ago. Yeah. You know, when you're recruiting at the moment, and Umbrella Training has Umbrella Employ, which is our sort of a little part of Umbrella that supports recruitment into an apprenticeship. So we put vacancies up, we support you know, potential apprentices with their interviews with our business partners. You know, and sometimes I hear people say, yeah, but they didn't interview well. And I was like, okay, so did you tailor the interview? Did you change anything comparing to how you've interviewed your highly skilled EU professionals that you were interviewing 18 months ago? Or did you use exactly the same interview technique and exactly the same benchmarking on an 18-year-old that comes from, you know, I don't know, you know, round the corner in Lewisham, you know, or that has never interviewed before, that has never put a CV together before? And we need to start adapting. We need to start thinking, who are the people that are coming in? Gen Z are so different than anyone else that we've had before. Their drivers are different. The way they present themselves are different. Their motivation is different. And I think what's really important for Generation Z that is, you know, who is coming into our interviews, is that we are different as an organization, that there is a clear identity, that we are authentic as an organization, that we're transparent. You know, tell them all, warts and all, because they will want to know, because their expectations need to be managed very clearly from the beginning. And lastly, be very clear with your values and vision. And if you need to adapt it, work on it, because ultimately that why of the organization needs to be clear to everyone, top down and bottom up. And it needs to be really clear to all of the new entrants into the market, and I think that's something to be very mindful of.
I could not agree with you more. And picking up on your Generation Z comment, employee engagement. We've seen a lot of that over the last 18 months in all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
But now that everybody's back at work, the focus is on work. So in terms of employee engagement, and particularly looking at new into the industry, what are your thoughts on that?
This particular area is something that I'm seeing day in, day out within our business partners, looking for apprentices, looking for people to come in. Even the Kickstarters coming from DWP and sort of that side. Umbrella training is a Kickstart gateway, and we're sort of tearing our hair out with some of the sort of disparity between the expectations of the employers and the readiness of the new people coming into the labor market, especially sort of 16 to 24-year-olds. And I think what's really important is to start understanding that we have people who are coming into the labor market that are not ever going to be like the ones that we had before. Their culture is different. Demographically, they're coming from a different, sort of background, different setting where they were brought up. A lot of them have never been in a formal job, and we need to change not just the way we approach them, the way we engage them, but by looking at our social media strategy, by looking at things that I mentioned previously in the terms of vision and values. But I think we need to change the way we train them. We need to understand that we need to input more than we ever have to actually get the basic, and then continue inputting more. And I know that this is a really difficult concept to deal with after having 25 years of really fortunate position where you could have someone walk into an interview that was amazing mixologist, and you would just go, yeah, there's a mixologist job, go for it. Now we have to pay for a great mixologist, which is great, because it is time to get those values right. But at the same time, now we have to go and search for them, because because of the uncertainty of the jobs, they're staying where they want to be. So any new mixologists that are coming through, we need to be building them. We need to be supporting them. And that's exciting, but it's also really scary. And people are used to having these, really well trained people that they just need to tweak a little bit to the culture and get on. That's not going to happen. So what you need to be doing is adding a 6 months to your induction programs to actually have someone performing at the level that your Europeans used to perform, purely because it's they're a different position in the labor market. And in the terms of engagement, they're in a different position in the terms of motivation, because their entry point is different. So I think we need to be celebrate what we've done before, but really review our engagement strategies to support Generation Z, to support local people coming into the business, and then looking at different demographics. We had an amazing interview with someone, and they were sort of giving us ideas about what they would do in a certain position, and they said, I really want to focus on women returners to work. In the crash of 2008, it was males between the age of 30 and 50 that suffered. If you look at who suffered the most during the pandemic, it's women who had to sort of homeschool, take the furloughs, go back to work, but not quite in the same capacity. And she was saying, why don't we support more through hospitality industry, that area, that demographic? And that got me really excited, because even though we talk about working mums and all the rest of it, we don't actually ever stop to build a real strategy around changing rotas, working with the whole school times. It is doable. It is something that can be done. We just need to pick the right demographic to support hospitality and really spend time thinking, what do they need? Because that's the position we're in. It's the market of the employees, and you know, for once, I'm not upset about that, because I think it will bring people that genuinely want to be in hospitality if we spend some time on them.
I think that's a really, really good point. The awards are all about achievement. And to sort of close this interview today, what I'd like to know is one big achievement that you and your team have been most proud of over the last 18 months.
I think for us, that was supporting over 500 apprentices and over 60 business partners, and not stopping for a day, and not having any of our business partners or apprentices say, I don't want to learn. And I think the biggest achievement is the feedback that we get daily when people say, you know, you were the only person I've spoken to during the lockdown. You were the only reason, you know, you as in Umbrella was the only reason why I, you know, stayed in hospitality or stayed with my employer, because, you know, you were there. Your learning consultants were there to support me during the lockdowns, whether that was through learning things about hospitality, about leadership, about, you know, making banana bread, or whether that's you know, supporting them with their mental health challenges, supporting them with feedback on how to find other jobs if they were made redundant. Some of them were made redundant. We had Umbrella Exchange, and we placed about 25 people in different positions from within our Umbrella community. And I think that's the thing that the team at Umbrella are sort of really proud of, that we haven't left anyone behind.
Jo, I think that's amazing, and definitely something to be proud of. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye,
Thank
Jo.
you.